Well,
Oh,
we want to welcome our podcast community to a special guest. Matt probably has the best sense of humor of any security IT guy I've ever met. So we finally got hooked up and he is on the show. So, Matt, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and then we'll get into a conversation and the podcast.
thanks for having me on, Pete. I appreciate your kindness and
You're welcome.
generosity. So, for put it in layman's terms, I am basically nerd for hire, and my specialty is individuals, solopreneurs, small businesses. When it comes to their different, tech toys, tech tools, um, um, gadget goodies, all your peripherals that use your infrastructure, your phones, your tablets, your modems, your routers, your scanners, webcams, Windows, Mac, Chrome, Android, iPhone, all those things that I have knowledge with to help you to navigate the IT storm and to make sure that I pull a hootie and blowfish and hold your hand through the process to make sure that you are protected from what's out there and that your technology works with you and for you, not against you.
I love it. So I got to ask this question. So at what point of your career did you see yourself moving in, and we call it that nerdy IT mindset, because you have to really get into really things that nobody does. Were you in high school, grade school? What point did you navigate through that and get into the technology part?
Yeah, that's a good question, Pete. For me, it was I would say like a multi-tier stage. So,
Mhm.
for example, when I was actually no, 8 years old, my dad, back in 1985, when Back to the Future came out, he was an accountant. He bought one of the first IBM PCXTs with a 10 megabyte hard drive, and I learned DOS when I was 8 years old. And at that time in 1985, I think maybe 3% of the country had computers. So
Yes.
I got interested in it at an early age because thankfully he exposed it to me when I was very young. And
Mhm.
then over time, for example, like I got more intrigued about wanting to have my own computer. So when I was 13, back in 1990, when MC Hammer was on the radio, and you can't touch this, is I built my first computer. Now, for those of you who are not old enough to remember, there was a time in history when there was not internet, and there was a time in history when the internet was not fast. And back then, you only had dial up called BBSs or bulletin board systems,
Yep.
and there was no e commerce. Your e commerce was picking up the goddamn phone and calling a company, ordering parts. That
Mhm.
that was your e commerce.
Right.
So back in the day, there was a magazine called Computer Shop. It was 500 pages. Every time they put one out, they probably killed the fucking tree. And so, no one wanted global warming. And so, based on that, I saved my allowance. My dad helped me to sit there and to purchase the parts. And between my dad and myself, at 13, I built my first 286. And so, ever since then, it intrigued me. I said, okay, I guess when I'm older, this is what I could do or what I should do, because I eventually, developed a knack for it and a knowledge base. I said, I like helping people. I like the technical aspect of, what I do. Let me learn more. And so after high school, that's when I took some electronic technology courses. I
Mhm.
got certain certifications, and then I started to work in the real world and then get more experience and exposure there, for both the positive and the negative. And it's kind of snowballed to me working for myself for the past 18 years.
Wow. So at what point, like when you're working for somebody else, did you decide 18 years ago, what was the decision to move into your own business? What was that like that our viewers could understand better?
That was a very interesting story. Um, so this is back in January 2006. At
Mhm.
that time, I was working for two mom and pop places, and one of them I wasn't doing too well with the owner because, as you know, and I'm very guilty of this, I curse like a voodoo lady. But then again, I'm from Jersey. I grew up in Sopranos. Who's
Yeah.
talking to you? And so I talk Italian, my stomach's Italian, but my guilt is Jewish. So besides other reasons and who he was and who I was, at some point I got fired, and this was January 2006. Now,
Mhm.
on the other tier is I worked for another mom and pop place, similar to what I was doing, but they weren't paying me enough. I made a third of what they were charging. And I went to the owners of like, why are you paying me this little? I'm doing all the work here. I should be getting paid more. And they wouldn't pay me more. So literally within 1 week of each other, I shit you not, I quit one job and then I got fired from the other. It's like, okay, now fuck it. I am unemployed. What do I do? So I had to pivot because thankfully I never signed an NDA between the two of them. I had no money coming in. I didn't get any severance whatsoever. And so I had to wing it, chicken, turkey, and angel. And um, so to me, going on my own was, like a last resort. But it turned out to be the best thing because I got to steer the ship. I got to do things my way, treat people how I wanted to, express myself how I saw fit, or at least my version of professionalism, put people on the pedestal, roll out the red carpet, take out the limp balls, and do IT or technology my way to help out people. And thankfully, there are people that knew me from those two prior companies, and that's what snowballed me between advertising and the paper at the time to get me to start off and during that time frame.
It's always good when we're kind of pushed into a situation, we figure it out. Now, I'm looking at '06, and I know what happened in '08. So you were a couple years removed from a major kind of shift in the economy. How did
Yeah,
you make it through '08?
no problems whatsoever because it didn't affect me. And I was very lucky because everybody used IT. Same thing during COVID, everybody used IT. So
Yeah,
again, I'm very lucky. I had the luxury of that nerdy cushion because high people didn't have that luxury during that time frame with the
right.
whole bank with the reverse mortgages and the fallout there. Think of all the people that lost their jobs or their lives during COVID. So again, I appreciate the aspect of what I do, and it doesn't negate me of the gratitude and appreciation I have for being in that niche where technology in our society now is like water, air, speaking English, electricity, etc. It's critical for your survival in this day and age.
Yeah, the technology is only going to get faster. And as we hear about AI, how are you preparing your clients for this next wave of really turning businesses upside down in a way that they better embrace it? What do you say to your clients as they ask you about AI and how it's going to affect them?
It really depends on the person. For example, somebody that's retired will be more concerned about like Siri on their phone or Hey Google on their phone.
Mhm.
So those things will sit there and be concerned there. For business, what can AI do to automate tasks or to do research for a project or to figure something out? Could AI take off of certain parts of jobs? Or from a security perspective, how will AI infect your machine or infect your network, in terms of, God forbid, a cyber attack of some kind. Also for people in general, like could somebody impersonate somebody you love or a friend and then call on their behalf and then try to scam you out of something? That could happen. In terms of things like Amazon, will AI automate that in terms of how you get packages or interact, or robots that are coming, or your car having AI? So again, it depends on where the technology goes and how it's going to be utilized. But all the major platforms now within the past 6 months to a year, whether you're running Microsoft and Windows, Google and Chrome OS or Chromebooks, Mac and the new software is coming out for the Mac and for the iPhones. All those major platforms have some artificial intelligence component in them, and how do you pivot using those things? And then also the privacy concerns as well that people have in terms of what information is being sent back and how are they pulling an ET and phoning home and what is being um, discussed and could something be compromised in that respect, or is it legitimate based on who you are and what you do, and what procedures do companies like ChatGPT or others have in place, like Microsoft or Apple or Google, to sit there protect you from what's out there when it comes to your AI queries, so to speak.
Mhm. What do you when it let's shift over into cybersecurity, which is in the news obviously for the last couple years. From a small business perspective, how are you advising your small businesses to protect themselves and to be prepared for the way that it's affecting how we do business?
You have to pull like a Black Sabbath and be paranoid. And so, unless you are not, what you don't know, unfortunately, can hurt you. And so, every line of defense, whether it be the internet connection that comes in, how do you protect that? Your devices, commonly brought in BYOD, bring your own devices or phones or tablets or laptops. When something is going onto your network, what precautionary procedures or structure do you have in place to isolate those devices away from your network so prying eyes can't get on there? It's almost like the 80s song from Rockwell. I always feel like somebody's always watching me and I got no privacy. And so that's really key of what it is. How protected are the devices that are on there? Computer is easy, phone is easy. What how about your printer? How about like your Ecobee, your electronic thermostat? How about things like your Alexas or things like your alarm system that are on Wi-Fi? How to protect those things if you can't install like some type of protection software? That's where hardware comes in, to sit there and help alleviate that back where the internet is. So everything is a tiered system. You're only as good as how well you can patch all the holes to make sure somebody doesn't find an open hole to get in. And then
Mhm.
you have user error, or as they say, ID10D. So how do you compensate for that and teach people what to look out for and guide them along the way? Because I always tell people I can't prevent the car accident, but I sure as hell can give you a better seatbelt and airbag.
Hmm. I like that analogy there. What we're I know we can't look too far into the future because it's changing so rapidly. How do you see your business changing in the next year as you're servicing your clients?
I see more people not just going on mobile, but also wanting more integration. For example, um, you know, things like your smart devices, like your internet things, smart refrigerators, smart speakers, smart TVs. I can't tell you how many smart TVs I sent up this year because that's basically what it is. You're watching a glorified computer.
Mm.
All the different things that connect wirelessly. Um, Even certain fans. Your car has most modern cars have an infotainment system. And guess what? Like I have a Hyundai Tucson. I could put a flash drive in, upgrade the software in my car. So your things like your Xbox, your Switch, your PlayStation, all have software, and all those things can be updated too. So
Mhm.
again, it's just a plethora of different things that are there that help you. Security cameras like Ring, I've helped them people set those up too. So again, if it has a technological component and it goes on wirelessly, that's where I come in to help you along the way.
Mhm. Do you, because I lived in a senior facility and, there was people coming in to educate the seniors on technology. What would be your advice to seniors on what they need to be familiar with? Because my mom's 94 and we had the heck of a time getting her on an iPhone to try to simplify her calling. Now she's hard, she doesn't hear as well, so there's phones out there that give you texts and higher things. What would you say, higher volume? What would you say to my seniors as it relates? What would you look for to help them with that they can at least stay up with, technology without, becoming a master in technology?
Well, the easiest thing to do is to rely on people that are younger, like your grandkids. They'll probably know more than you will, or could know more than you will. Also, a lot of senior centers will have courses there at the senior center to learn how to use technology. They also have like dummy books, like Seniors for Dummies, or iPhone for Dummies. Don't be afraid to invoke those dummy books. YouTube, great thing. iPhone for beginners for seniors. So just a little bit of knowledge there will sit there and help you go a long way. Or you hire somebody like me who will sit there and cater to you and teach you step by step what to do. Perfect case in point. I have a lady who is in her late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
She has Metro PCS, which again is a subsidiary of T-Mobile, and she has AT&T. And so AT&T, keeps dropping her connection. And she doesn't want to go to Comcast because guess what? She has to cut down a goddamn tree just to be able to install the Comcast. So she has to go through a homeowner association, cut down a tree, and then get Comcast, and not to deal with that mess. So she was frustrated with AT&T, had problems with Metro PCS. So I said, fine, you're overpaying too much for both services. Here's what to do. Verizon now offers home internet through 5G at her location. And then she wanted to get a new iPhone. And the new iPhone has better support for 911, where they'll have video chat. And then also the new AirPods, which are these things too. Hold on. There we go. So here are the new AirPods Pro 2. This thing here now is certified as a hearing aid. So,
Wow.
so that to me is pretty cool. And so I helped her get on to Verizon. I got her a new phone. They're running major credits right now, which she's getting the phone for basically free. They're throwing a $200 gift card for the cell phone. They're throwing in a $100 gift card for the internet box. And then at some point, I'll turn on auto pay. And she was very grateful. And so she didn't know, and I did all the homework for her. I walked her through it. I said, this is what's going on. I explained it to her so she understood what was transpiring and how this is going to benefit her in the long run. So that's a perfect example of how I can cater to seniors, but more importantly, find somebody or hopefully trust that you can help you if you don't know. That's half the battle. It's perfectly fine not to know. But when you start answering phone calls that are malicious or scams, you start clicking on emails that you don't know what they are. You think that they owe you money or a bill that are scams. If your device are not protected or you don't know, that's how the harm occurs, and that's when the damage is done. And unfortunately, I come in a lot of times after the fact. I have to clean up the mess, and it is a real pain in the ass sometimes, and it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking for me. It's heartbreaking for them as well to have to go through that and to be taken advantage of because people just don't care.
Yeah, a good friend of mine called me. It's been about a month and a half, and they took advantage of rushing his wife, putting her through and hey, we got to do this, and before you know it, 30,000 plus is gone, and it's
Exactly.
like you feel so I mean, this is your safe,
Yeah.
and it's just like, and they know what they're doing. What would you say? How would you advise our seniors? I know you said don't click on links, don't make phone calls. Is there anything else that you can advise our seniors on to be aware of that you've seen in the last maybe 6 months or a year?
Yeah, if it sounds too good to be true, in this case, it usually is. Also, if you're not sure or something sounds fishy, or they're asking you to start giving in account information or financial information, that is a giant red flag. And so I tell people at that point, hang up, call somebody tell them what happened, and let them assess the story to say, yes, it's legitimate, or no, it's bullshit, and they're trying to scam you. So I tell my clients, and it's a broken record, and anybody listens to me, that if you're not sure, call me. I'll help discern it. Don't wait till after the fact when the damage is done to call me and say, Matt, I should have called you. This is what happened to me. I need you to help me now. So that's half the
That's
battle. If you're not sure, the easiest option is always hang up and get a second opinion. Even I sometimes will sit there and hang up and get a second opinion or do research or say, is this legitimate? And you have to look for certain warning signs in emails like grammatical errors, spelling errors, email addresses that it comes from that don't look legitimate. So there are warning signs to look from, but even browsing, if your browser is not protected, you can get infected there. So you have to be vigilant, and really it's keeping up with the Joneses, because if you don't, something will get through, and that's when the problems start occurring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, prevention is so important. I like what you told our viewers. If it sounds too good to be true, it's the old saying, it is. And so nobody's giving away money. They're trying to get your money. So be aware of those. And I like that you brought our viewers up to that. Let's shift into the small business arena. Like with things changing so rapidly, AI coming into full swing, all the major platforms are embracing it. If you're a business owner today, give our viewers an idea of one or two tips that you would want them to be aware of that could help them be more efficient or more protected when it comes to their technology.
Listen to what's out there. Try to follow some tech channels. For example, like there are plenty of podcasts through Apple or Audible, for books and stuff like that, where you can listen and hear what's going on. There are also websites like, one of the ones I go on is on techspot.com or appleinsider.com. Those will give you good insight on the industry and where things are going. Also, watch for messages that are automated. Watch for malicious scams or text messages that prompt you, like for the post office I got this morning, that to hit yes on something, and then that's how they can compromise your phone or your accounts. Just because it comes from Apple or Microsoft or Google or Amazon doesn't mean it's legitimate. And so, like, for example, Xfinity, Comcast keeps telling them I owe them a bill. I haven't been with Comcast in 2 years, and I keep getting that scam, but it looks legitimate, and I don't have Comcast anymore. So, also, I've seen, unfortunately, as I'm telling you before we got on, one of my clients had her son or relative have her voice cloned through AI. Somebody called as a scammer, and then scammed the son because he knew of somebody, and then drained $9,000 because he had to send Bitcoin, and he supposedly was in IT and he got scammed. So you have to say is that if they're asking for financial information or money or something of that nature to click on things, but they need to get on remotely. For example, they want to get onto your computer to do something. If you don't know them, why are they going on your computer? So something like that, those are classic red flags that should hang up and report it, like through the FTC. There are other government agencies that you can find that will support, scams. You can call your internet provider, tell them what's going on there. So again, there are avenues to go down to report what's going on, including like Google and Apple if you get a spam message. So.
Well, that's very good to share with our viewers. So when you're not geeking out and learning all kinds of nerdy things to protect your businesses with, what do you like to do for fun?
Well, to me, I still am a nerd at heart. So sometimes it's video games, other times I'm a big nature and animal watcher. So, going to feed the duckies, or as I call it, Operation Foul Ball. There lizards down here and other birds of kinds. It's working out, trying to get in better shape. Also, music is a big part of my life. Sometimes I'll been in terms of streaming or charity work with donating computers and other parts of people that are less fortunate. And of course, I'm still a 5-year-old because you can do it. So, so it's also being there for my friends or family. Yeah. So that's really what it is. But also things like bowling or going to concerts and stuff like that. So that's a part of my nerdy off season. So
That's good to hear, because we don't want you to be all work, no play. Because
I agree.
we know you wouldn't have a sense of humor if you did that. That's
Well,
for
even
sure.
for you, like, I'm not a big golf person, but I love putt,
Yeah.
like going to mini golf, and I'll be putting around. So, that to me is fun too.
Exactly. Those windmills are really good. You just got to know the
Exactly.
timing of them. So tell our viewers, Matt, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, the easiest way is what you see on the screen if you're watching, but also if you're not, you can go to Matt's MATTS PCservice.com. Again, that's Matt's MATTS PCservice.com, or even old school. My phone is 954-263-8784. I'm also under LinkedIn on Matt Roseman. You can find me there. Those are probably the best ways to contact me, besides the site, the phone number. I don't heavily advertise on social media, but those are probably the easiest thing. YouTube and other things are coming down the line. So you find me in those aspects. I'll be more than happy to speak with you about what's going on with you and how to get you back into the 21st century. So
that is awesome. So what would be the one thing you'd want our viewers to take home from our time on this podcast?
Is that technology should be a part of your life, but it should not necessarily ruin or run your life. And so that's why I always give the analogy of having technology work with you and for you, not against you. You want to use technology on your own terms as much as possible, but you can't necessarily simplify something that's inherently complex. And so that's where people like me come in with knowledge or expertise or the ability to learn and learn to fly. Like even yesterday, I was learning on the fly about Verizon and getting the 5G hotspot or home internet working on a brand new account that I never seen. Even though I have Verizon, it still was a new experience. So I'm in a classroom all the time, and I'm constantly learning. It's always changing for me. So if you don't want to learn or you don't care, at least listen to somebody who knows what they're talking about, can help you along the way, at least give you the the guidelines. But the more vigilant you are, or the more you ask questions, or the more you address your concerns with me or somebody else that is technologically savvy, at that point, it'll help you get the most from everything to use technology how you want to, not necessarily how the world wants to. Yes, when you go to the airport, you got to scan your code, but other than that, getting a text message, you can still limit technology or use technology. It's up to you and what feels right for you. So
awesome. I want to thank you, Matt, for being a guest on our podcast and helping our small businesses and our business owners really prepare themselves and be aware of what resources are out there. And if you're in our community, I want you to share this. If you know some people that can use Matt's services, share this podcast with them. Let them know what's possible. Let them know what their resources are. Prevention is 99% of it, if not 100%. It's better to be prepared than to be, have that regret that you didn't take the proper steps to secure your business.
Yeah, so, thanks for having me on, Pete. I really appreciate it.
Hey, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, Matt.